We want to get back now to our coverage of the Florida primary election and what comes next.
That's a big question. Now that the dust is settled, the top of Florida's Democratic ticket seems to be split. On the left, a Democratic socialist for senator and a moderate ex-Republican for governor. CBS News' my Jim Defede joining us now from the newsroom. And Jim, Democrats like to say they're a big tent party. You described this last night as a schizophrenic ticket. So how do Democrats deal with that?
That's really the challenge for Democrats up and down the ballot. Now, Angie Nixon and David Jolly overlap on one important area. When they talk about the affordability issue in Florida, when they talk about housing and health care and making life more affordable for Floridians, that's where their agendas overlap. Now, in a lot of other ways, they are very disparate. And you heard David Jolly today stress that he is not a socialist, doesn't believe in socialism. He declared himself a capitalist. And so he'll continue to do that. But the challenge is he can't dismiss Angie Nixon in a way that demeans her, in a way that makes her seem as if he's not taking her seriously as a candidate at the top of the ticket. Because if you do that, if you basically disrespect Angie Nixon in the course of trying to distance yourself from her, you're just going to alienate the Democratic base that you still need to come out. Now, for Angie Nixon, she needs to sort of walk away from some of the DSA platform that she doesn't necessarily agree with. I heard her in interviews today talk about, for instance, that she's not for doing away with prisons, that she's not for doing away with all borders and just having immigration just flow anywhere that they want. She wants strong borders. So, they're both trying to figure out a way to survive in this climate. Last night I said I did not think that either of them would be seen on a campaign stage together. I'm a little less sure. There might be some room for that to happen, but it certainly is a delicate dance.
Yeah, but right out of the gate, David Jolly having to answer questions not about his general election opponent, but about other Democrats in his party. So what should he be talking about specifically about Byron Donalds? This has kind of overshadowed his win. So how does he move forward in the race?
Look, Byron Donalds is, I think, in a way, he was both a winner and a loser last night. He won with almost 50% of the vote, and this should have been his night. This should have been his coronation, at the top of the ticket. The first African-American Republican who is in line to become a governor of a southern state. We've never seen that before. And so last night should have been about him and his victory and his rise to prominence within the Republican Party, but that story got overshadowed by Angie Nixon. And so what you're hearing now from Byron Donalds is he's got to sort of recalibrate, reassert himself on the campaign trail. He won't have any problem doing it. As we pointed out numerous times, he's got $99 million that he's raised. He'll raise another 10, 20, 30 million between now and November. So his message will get out there. It's a little slower than he would have liked.
Jim, very quickly, what do you think black voters will do? Will they vote for a black candidate on the Republican side for governor and a Democrat for Senate?
That is a really interesting question as to what extent race plays a factor. In a lot of polling that I see, and I think we saw it in certain races, even in District 20, that while race does play something of a factor for voters, especially African American voters who want to feel as if their voice is heard, their lived experience is being shared and is available, at the same time, they do look at certain things and are interested in the policies of the candidates themselves. So will an African American vote for Byron Donalds simply because he's black, even if his policies they find anathema to their beliefs? That's going to be the interesting challenge ahead.
All right, lots of interesting storylines to follow in the next 2.5 months. We'll be on top of them all. Jim, thanks so much for your insight.